future. What can we expect? What these educational establishments can see in the future? We spoke about the thing that in Kemerovo have been enrolled the new course of students for 6 majors, which was also very unique when a newly established organization has already enrolled students for nearly every occupation. Also, we mentioned and spoke and discussed the integration of the future affiliated branches to the life of their regions. We spoke about analytical analysis. We tried to analyze the situation regarding theaters. We spoke about traditions, theater traditions in these regions. And then in the second part of our first day, we had speeches of our prominent professors like Ivan Ivanovich Blagodyur and Konstantin Alexandrovich Uchitelь. And when we finished our first day, we had a dispute which was started by Konstantin Alexandrovich Uchitelь, who started to contemplate about the peculiarities of traditions in St. Petersburg in the theater life, and what are the challenges of the theater life today, what kind of challenges we're facing today regarding the theatrical or dramatic education. So the problems of the education and drama related to the drama practical issues are going to be the issues of today. We today have invited here alumni of our institute, our graduates, who present for us today the current life of the theater in St. Petersburg, not only here in this city, but also in the regions. This is very important for us, that today we are going to listen to alumni, all those people who have graduated from our local St. Petersburg School of Drama. But on the other side, these are those people who do promote theatrical process ahead. What are we lacking? What is required? What are the tasks? What are our aims when we educate our future experts in the sphere of the drama art? This is very important to understand. It is important for our teachers, it is important for the school in general. So this is that kind of conversation which we plan to have today. I remember that a couple of years ago, a meeting like this we used to have already, and it was devoted to the artistic, to the acting craft and skill. And we had our artists, our actors, to speak here, sharing their ideas with what they have learned, what they have gained, and what this workshop that we have in our institution, what it gave them, what they learned from it, what they had to add when they finished, when they graduated the school and when they started to work on set or in the theater, what they have to gain, what they had to learn besides the school. How did they manage to grow into real experts? I remember that one of the alumni said, yes, we were not taught to know some peculiarities, how to work on set, how to work in front of the camera, but we were taught, she said, with different directors, to work with different directors who often offer or suggest to do those things which are not related in any way with those things which we were taught to do when being students of the university. But then someone said that at some point I realized that we were taught the main thing. We take the conditions as the suggested circumstances. The condition of a set I accept as the given circumstances. And then everything fitted its place. So that was her way, how she found the way to get herself adapted to life in filmmaking and in acting. But there is a very wonderful tradition which we also resembled it yesterday, that 120 years ago, 120 years ago, here used to be a school of choreography, and over there, behind the walls of the choreography school, where our predecessors used to be students, they also had disputes and arguments between great Russian outstanding actors, Yuri Yuryev, Davidov, and they spoke and disputed about who they are going to teach, what kind of experts there should be, what is going to be the appropriate way of education. Either we have everything in studios, in local studios, or it should be, the task should be more general. So, and those disputes are still alive. How do we teach? In what form? Shall we keep to the classical form, to the studio form, or what? If this is a studio, then it should be based on some specific director and the system of that director. So we keep arguing as long we have the theater and drama education in our country. So today we join this tradition of having discussions in this sphere of theatrical education, and I gladly now I'm going to give the floor to our alumni, to directors, to producers, to artistic directors of the theater. And the first is going to be Oleg Malitvin, who is the main director, chief director of the drama theater in Tomsk. Well, good afternoon, dear colleagues. As for education and as for all the problems that arise definitely in the theater, I have very mixed impressions, because I wouldn't call this a problem. I would say that this is just a permanently developing situation. Every year we face the situation when new people come to our company. Some people leave, some people go for good, and new people come and join us, and the people who come, newcomers, they come from different theatrical schools. So this is very important to understand, whether it's just a local moment when just one or two people come and they join the steady-made company, where already exists the language of rehearsals and the company speaks the certain language. Actors feel and know the director, and when, say, one or two new people come, they might belong to a different school of drama, but still they manage to fit into the new company, and they are able to speak the same language with us. Within the last 4 years, we had more than 10 new actors joining us. They are all from different drama schools. So, due to the fact that this process comes very gradually, we do not have any clashes. We do not have any clashes of different traditions, of different languages. We have very smooth entering to our company. And remembering yesterday's word of Konstantin Alexandrovich, I want to mention another problem which does exist in the regional theater, the problem of how to make them remain in the company, how to keep people, those actors who graduate from Moscow and St. Petersburg theaters, and if they are not citizens of these cities, and they get back to their local theaters, like to Tomsk, Omsk, or wherever they go. This is the problem, how to keep them in the company. The situation is that young people, of course, is eager to go to the capital cities after they graduate, and this brings to the situation that every year people being driven by different motives, different reasons, they leave everything and they leave their local theaters for the sake of capital theaters. I think it is related with the way we get education and with all those things which they are raised with, how the students have been raised in this situation. The upbringing system is very important. This is what we work on, and I try to work on the study company, for the company wouldn't be split into particles, as this is really a permanent process of young actors being eager to leave the company, and they do it. So the administration has to find other actors to replace the missing actors. Well, of course, really, that this issue that, of course, people do want to go to the central capital theaters, speaking about theaters in Tomsk, in Omsk, in Yekaterinburg, and I can mention many other cities which do have very high reputation among the theatrical critics, and we respect highly these theaters. So actually these theaters has become already centers of the local culture. This is a very positive thing, which helps to raise the attractiveness of these theaters and these areas. Like, for example, in France, we remember the experience when theaters which they had in Lyon, in Strasbourg, when theater life was concentrated in different parts of France, and Jean Millard was was heading this movement, was at the head of this movement, and we remember that they had positive results. But anyway, if it works or not, still people everywhere want to go to the capital city, despite on the very successful life on local regions. So to increase this, the increase of the artistic life in the local theaters really promotes and supports and helps to people to put into practice all these possibilities. Of course, this is very attractive. Yesterday we spoke about integration of our affiliated branches and our alumni and our school into the life of different regions, not in the respect, in the aspect that touring actors have to go there and work there, but specifically from the point of view that over there in the local areas, the pedagogical process appears, and over there they grow their own experts, where people can get the complete drama education right over there. Yesterday we discussed that when there is a talented professional teacher who copes to work in the same system, within the same system, and he becomes the lead already. When we face the challenge, when there is no a teacher like this, then the director of the local theater replaces or substitutes such a teacher, and he teaches the he teaches actors in the theater, replaces the needed participation of teachers. Now I will give the floor to director of a little drama theater, Alina Mustafaeva, also an alumni of our university. Good afternoon. Well, if we speaking about education, I have just recently become the director of the drama theater. Most of my time I was working with the independent theaters, and over there I gained my most experience. So I cannot say that as an expert I has become in the educational establishment in the university, because all those skills which I have today, this is the result of my own work in different theaters. If remembering my student days, of course I remember all the pluses, and we always underline the positive aspects of our education. When we speak about education, we of course always remember the best pictures, the best signs of it, but now unfortunately I cannot recommend to enter to producing faculty to my younger friends or colleagues, because really I realized that was the waste of time, because I believe that our education was really very weak, was nothing, it was not timely, it was not actual, and for me it was always the question, why was it so, why we don't have practical work at all on our program. We do not have experts who do really work something, work and perform something, and perform the work which results in something. There were many hours we spent which was just a waste of time. Of course, there were many subjects that taught us how to think, how to analyze. Of course, there were many important things which we get back to those times. We are really grateful to those teachers. But when yesterday we had a conversation about our teachers, I can, within 5 years of my studies there, I can remember about 4 people maybe. When these are those people whom I always remember, but the rest part of the education unfortunately just passed me by. just pass by me, because everything which we studied was not about today, was not about the process which is going on today in the theater. It was not related with contemporary challenges. I wished that the university could teach important things. And I always remember that the practical issues which we had to have while being students, that was also a very weak point, why the university couldn't agree about our practical life. So people work with very low salaries. What we can get after graduation, they can offer, the market can only offer us 30,000 rubles as a salary. Really is very disappointing. When I graduated, there were 30 of us, and only 2 of these 30 work according to the education. The other alumni, they join some other spheres, not because they do not like or love theater and they do not want to work in the theater, just they stopped being actual. When we entered the first year of our education, we were really charged with the energy, we were dedicated, we were full of expectations. But already by the 5th year of graduation, I understand that people just lose their impulse, lose their desire, and students say that I'm just waiting for graduation in order to finish all that. This is really worries, because I know many wonderful, interesting people who are supposed to stay in the field and work something, but because there is no development for production section, it happens that this is just a circuit where we see there is no experts, there are no financing, there is no wish to work with them. But what could you offer and suggest? What would you offer to change? You mentioned that this program is not focused on the contemporary days and challenges. But what should we do? What do you think? What should we do in order to change it? It doesn't count the legal issues or the economical. What is the problem to your mind? I think the problem is that there is too much of theory when we speak about, for example, theory of economics. Of course, we know that these are basics and we need to study it, but there is practical economy, there are applied economical things, the world is being changed, and there are changes. We're facing changes every time. We see the growth of progress, which goes very, very rapidly. Every year we're facing new and new challenges, but those things which we discuss at the classes, they're all old-fashioned things. It doesn't work at all. It's not applicable in life. These are things which are interesting to think about, but not apply. Do you mean it regards to theatrical practice? Well, financial planning, economics of culture, marketing management, business management, all these subjects. They were, but they were very, very weak. That was very, very poorly done. So you think that practitioners from the theater are to be attracted to this work? Of course, this is the best way. There should 90% of teachers should be those people who practically work, because those subjects which were taught by practical people, by practitioners, they really got to our mind. And those people who used to work in the field, they know what they talk about, they know how to teach, they've got things that they can share with us, which are useful. Does it refer to both state and non-state organizations? Can you say that the education is focused mainly to the state budget theaters and non-budget organizations just pass by? I think our education is not directed to anything, anywhere. This is just an education. It doesn't have any specific face and color. Well, you've been working in the non-budget theater, and now you work in the state budget theater. Is there a difference? Yes, there is a difference. Of course, there is a difference. In independent theaters, there is much more freedom and different variety of activities. But problems are still the same.
Не то, что вы работаете в негосударственных театрах, и здесь нужна какая-то особая, так сказать, профилизация. А вот в государственных можно оставить все как есть. Образование. Это вот не об этом вы говорите, да?
Are you talking about special profiles? No. In general, I speak about general aspects. We've got in our diploma, it is written, we are producing faculty, we are producers. Maybe if I had a diploma and I didn't work anywhere, I wouldn't go anywhere to be a manager, because it wouldn't be possible for me to become a managing administrator in anywhere but in the theater. Okay. We've got other alumni, and I expect other people to. So now I'll give the floor to Polina Zhuravlyova, the actress of the Arc Theatre and also an alumni of our university. Dear friends, good afternoon. I'm very happy to see everybody, and I'm happy to have us alumni here of this university, of our beloved university, alma mater. So my point of view is that, first of all, and the important thing, the main thing, what I want to say is that I'm very thankful, very grateful, have unlimited gratefulness towards the acting department from Grigory Kozlov department. His performance you're going to watch at 7 o'clock tonight. He was my master and the head of the faculty, and I remember him with great respect. I'm happy, 1000% happy with my education. I was very happy and lucky with all the teachers we had. I still remember all the lectures which I visited and never missed them. Mr. Gromov, Chirva, Mr. Chirva, Konstantin Uchitelь, Galina Kovalenko. She really cried. She had tears during lectures when she spoke about different literature pieces, and it cannot be by touching. I'm really grateful beyond any limits. Grigory Serebryny, Mr. Potemkin, Mr. Kaval, my master, all these teachers, they made me what I am today. Of course, it's very important to find your own teacher, your own master. This is what Oleg used to say about the company of the theater. And I believe that it is very important when the future student just is about to enter the course. Not everybody are lucky. This is not the best thing just to go to the university for the sake of becoming a student. There should be a chemistry between a student and the teacher. And I know examples when on the parallel courses, my very talented friends, colleagues, they studied, but they didn't. This chemistry didn't happen between a student and the teacher. So when this happens, then it's really difficult to learn. I was lucky and happy, and I'm very grateful for that. Of course, if we miss something, it's always possible to find what you are missing, and this is normal. This is normal. It never happens that everything is ideal. We do not live in an ideal world. Of course, every time we were missing something. But, yesterday, you have already mentioned the fact that the filmmaking skills were mentioned, because in our diplomas it says that that we are actors of films and theaters. Maybe, yes, we are lacking some of the skills. But still, with those teachers who we had, like Potemkin, for example, with all those exercises, this is a separate theme, and I can talk about that. But the most important thing, what I want to underline now, is the theme of my responsibility. There should be responsibility. Yes, responsibility should be. Maybe we are lacking some skills, but now you're an alumni, you have graduated, and if you understand that you are missing something, you are responsible for gaining all those missing skills that you don't have. You just develop them. You go and you learn those things which you are missing. This is what I did. I love to study things, to learn, and the real professional keeps learning all the time. As soon as you say that, well, I've graduated, I've got the education, I know everything, this is the end. This is the end when you say, this is it, I know everything, no need to learn. Well, 12 years already passed since I've graduated from the university, and I keep learning every day. Every day, I understand that, and I agree with you that time is not standing. Time is changing, and we are facing always the challenges of becoming new. We are not just actors. We have to be. You have to be a cameraman for yourself, a costume maker for yourself. An actor have to understand about costume design, camera, photography. This is a reality. Of course, I'm missing knowledge, and I try to, by different ways, to get and gain all those knowledge that I'm missing. It doesn't decrease my love, it doesn't kill my love to the university, and I do not diminish, not in any way, I'm not diminishing the reputation of the university. The competition is always very high, very high. There is no. When you enter the theater, any of the courses, you have to pass through the competition. They do not they do not count whose son you are, if you have connections or not. There is no corruption. There is no corruption at all in the university. What is important to pass through the competition, artistic competition, and show your talents. We had students from different countries also. The one from Mexico, And I remember our Mexican student very well who learned to speak Russian, to write Russian, to act in Russian. So I think the responsibility is the most important thing.
Спасибо большое. Спасибо, Полина. А сейчас я предоставляю
Thank you very much.
ответственность,
Now,
извините. И действительно,
of course, responsibility. The problem of responsibility is also the product of the school. This is also a product of the school. And this is a special honing or tuning for everlasting education process which never stops, which continues constantly in wherever you go, in your any kind of professional activity you take. You undertake any kind of profession, you have to keep learning, learning, and learning. So this is a feature of the school related to the constant responsibility and open pedagogics, which is open to practical occupation, to practical life. This is really very important when we renovate our pedagogical exercises and experiences. So this process is open. We extrapolate this process into a real drama life. Now I give the floor to Evgenia Davydenko, who is also known as Murakhtanova, who is the alumni of our institute and used to head the theater life of the city in the Committee of Culture, and today she is the teacher of our university. To continue this conversation about the everlasting education. Now she's finishing to work on her diploma as the master degree alumni. Thank you. Well, really, I've graduated our university as the theater scientist and manager. Theater manager. And what I want to start with the way I see the challenges in general, as the way I see them. And it seems to me that here, in this respect, the first situation which we have to face is the general change of the structure of the society in which we live. And from one hand side, we understand that we are all focused to the students and the master students, but life brings us to paradigm of the everlasting education. Just none of us can afford finishing education and then to continue work in the occupation. Well, I remember the Bolognian system and the positive sides of Bolognian system. I remember that it was initiated with this reconstruction of the society and the change of the ages of the society. So it's important that the master degree we have it. This is an opportunity to correct. And this is an opportunity for students to correct their education when you want to change something, to change the flow of your educational life. And the master degree programs, they are not directed to 20-year-old bachelor students, graduates. My students, they are not younger than 30 years. I don't have students younger than 30 years. And plus, I understand that it has always been a practice that young people, 17-year-old young people, were never welcomed at our university. Of course, it's possible to work as an organizer, but not a leader of the company. This is only something which you gain with your experience, and this is not just enough to get the education in the sphere. That's why an MBA program exists for many years as the program for practitioners, those who achieved positive results, started to lead, to be the head, to manage the process, and then he or she needs to continue this managing practice. Then well, being the manager of the average flow, I had to take another educational program, and it was really fruitful and had results. And this is what I always tell to my students. First study, then go to work, and then after you've been working for a certain time and gained experience, get back to educational programs. So professional craftsman and a teacher, these are different people. Because a teacher can be pretty far from practical life, but he's a perfect teacher, and he's not a practitioner at the same time. So this happens. This is normal. And here I can make some conclusions that it is useful to develop different forms. So some forms are related with re-educating people. And thanks to COVID, the distance education showed very interesting results, surprisingly, because on the one hand, I know many colleagues who suffered a lot from that, but as a person who studied and worked at the same time, you really discover great opportunities. They tell you just about the performance which has just appeared, was just recently directed, and you already can watch this. Someone mentioned the book, and you already click the button, and you already have it. This is just fantastic. New technologies are great. They are very helpful. We need to teach. We need to teach our students use these technologies. And maybe this new technologies, education in the sphere of new technologies, really answers all those challenges that we have. Because our graduates, our alumni, they're also very special people. We do not have a great number of the alumni. People who graduate our university, they're just singles. A professional worker and a teacher, these are two different people. Another point that I wanted to mention, from the point of view of suggestions and offers, the matter is that at the moment I study at the different faculty. I teach on one faculty and I study at another faculty. It seems to me that it would be good to expand all the courses related with the contemporary art, because many people, many programs, they finish in the middle of the 20th century. So all of us need contemporary art. Now we need to develop our look at the contemporary art. And also we see another trend. We see another trend when we need really open information. Programs are to be informative. Students have to be knowledgeable already, being students, that students of the second course or third course just discover at that time that they'd better go to a different teacher, or when students come to producing department and only at the second course they realize that this is not exactly about the filmmaking. This is not appropriate to believe that producing relates only to filmmaking. Of course, we're all combined with the acting craft, but the manner of manufacturing a film, remember that filmmaking is a visual art, but not performing art. So today, movies, cinematography is a media here. 20 years ago, we didn't speak about media. And when we spoke about news in the sphere of culture, we spoke about libraries, films, museums, books. And we also used to speak about television, like mass communication. But today, television is a different space. We didn't speak 20 years ago about media sciences. That's why today we have really social challenges that we have to face and cope with. Thank you very much, Evgenia, who touched upon very interesting problems related with the master degree program and necessity to develop a new view on the occupation, or the cooperation between occupations of from the side of a person who is already experienced, who has already gained experience. When we opened the master degree program, when we were about to open it here on the new stage of the Alexandrinsky Theater, we assumed to get this, to build this connection, or we assumed that there is already built a connection between different people working in different spheres of art. When they get connected together, belonging to different occupations, and they do not look upon each other from the point of their workshop, but they look at the process as the unified process. So this interdisciplinary story which happens here is very important, because not only graduates from the theater school participated here, but there are people coming to theater from different occupations like psychology, sociology, pedagogics, doctor. We used to have medical people, physics. People from different occupations come to us, but they are all united with love to theater, to drama. And this is very important. So when these different points of view to theatrical process get together and get boiled in the same bowl, so these professionals who have this professional experience, then really the result is very interesting. Our master degree program is 10 years old already today. In 2010, we made this program, and they never repeated each other. They were always very unique. Every time they were dedicated to some special problem, and had very special direction, like directing or acting direction. Suppose what it would be possible to do in the master degree program regarding acting. But in reality, in practice, we see that our teachers really manage and cope to work with actors and pedagogues. So this is a view on the acting occupation from the point of view of pedagogics. First, it was really very surprising for us, because we thought, what kind of dissertations, what kind of PhD can be written by actors? What kind of scientific work the actors may create, because they have different. The alumni of Felshtinsky, they do write very interesting scientific work. They still are inclined, despite on their practical education, they are inclined also to some theoretical things, because they can show some methodical direction and approve it. This is a new point, a new vision of your occupation. So the new view on the occupation, when after some time you can look back, you can look at your occupation, you can see what you can do. And another point is that we can remember how we started, and Konstantin Alexandrovich started, also took part in the work on creation of this first course. When we collected the first group, these were directors, technologists, stage artists, actors, and there was a group, creative group on for the performance, and that course was under the governing of Fokin and Maguchi and Isaev, and Oleg is the product of that course. That was the first master degree program. Maybe we have committed mistakes, maybe there was some misunderstanding, but that was a very interesting idea and correct to my mind. And we made it. So this moment related with gradual, multi-gradual system. When people start talking today that we have to refuse and deny the Bolognian system, I think this is not the matter of Bolognian system. We just have to think about other things. When we enroll students to the master degree program, we warn them, are you ready to become students again? Some people are not ready, but there are people who are ready, who do want to repeat their educational experience. So thank you very much for these remarks, for these contemplations, for you shared with us. This is very interesting for developing our drama school. And now I give the floor to Alexei Nikitin, who is the deputy of artistic director of Современник Theater. Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. This is a very interesting conversation about the drama school. I used to speak with my colleagues about that because I wanted to make sure what shall we speak about, but actually many things we've discussed already, and So today, my ideas for today actually appeared yesterday, when yesterday there was a question like, who is going to teach in the newly built affiliated branches? And of course there is a competition, there is some competition, but then there is a question where they will go to work. And the second point is that in the regional theaters there is a big demand to have so many experts, so many young experts. 48% of the experts working in the regional theaters do not have special education. So what? So what? They do not have theater education, but they have 30 years of experience, life experience. When we speak about technical experts, if you are going to teach them to work on the in the theaters equipped according to the high degree of the contemporary technical devices, well, actually, I saw people, I traveled around the theaters, but you know, there happens a clash, a certain clash, because the technical devices, they also change, and this process of changing and replacing the technical devices is also going very quickly. I've been, for example, with a theater tour to Magadan, to Chukotka, and over there, the governor used to be there, Roman Abramovich. We went there without our sceneries because it's not possible to carry their sceneries. People with foreign passports couldn't make their way to there because this is a borderline. So one palace of culture for 30,000 people, and this palace of culture has a highly equipped hall. So when we came there, we had highly professional technicians. They came to the sound workshop. Over there were two people, sound directors, and they work not only as sound directors, they also combine this occupation with other occupations. They work as shepherds, deer shepherds, they do many other things. And they also have many things which went out of date. They have films, still have films in big amount, which they keep in their boxes and they never use them. With video equipment is the same story. What I'm driving is that these people who do not have original theatrical education, but they spend so much time to real life in the theater, we need to think that they are very precious for us. We need to keep them, and we need to keep educating these people to let them learn new things needed for their purposes. And plus, they may not understand, sometimes it happens that they don't understand why they should do some new things. They can work and they can live the way they do without entering new things. What refers to our occupation and our university, I'm not so radical as Alina. I think that, well, of course, theater science faculty and people who teach there, there are just a few in the country, and our theater science culture is very strong. As for producing faculty, we had very strong teachers. Well, the university, in difference to school, is not obliged to teach you anything, because when in secondary school, the teachers, they are obliged to teach you, because you have to learn. Little kids, they have to be able to learn and to graduate the school being absolutely able to write, read, and calculate. But as for the university, the task is different. Well, I think that the student theater, educational theater, which we have as a part of our university, stays idle. This is a pity. As for practical studies, which we got from the university, I was really lucky. I went to Ленсовет theater, and I met Evgenia over there. I stayed to work over there, and I got a great experience. And 8 years ago, when students asked me where to go to practical, to gain practice, I could tell them maybe a couple of theaters. You can go to the workshop of Kozlov, but over there are young people working who are ready to share their experience with. I tell you that any kind of manager, this is his internal responsibility to work with the students coming for practice, because this is our future. Because these students is our future. We cannot do anything without them. Now, when this is the time when we lose the famous names, they leave the stage, and if we, young people, are not going to share our knowledge and to pass it to newly coming students, we are not going to come anywhere. The internship who come to work with me, the first question when we ask is where you want to continue to work, they do not say that they want to work in the theater when they finish my practice. And I'm proud that after trying their hand in practical experience under my management, they say that they do want to stay in the theater. Speaking about St. Petersburg, there is no any tendency for internal, inner development of people on the places. Of course, it requires additional education. People become leaders and managers, and this is a very dull life. This should not be like this. People should not wait until something happens. They have to develop themselves and run themselves and drive themselves for results. If I am right, we have very many leaders in the culture of in the Committee of Culture, and they replace each other. Different leaders, we have different leaders. 6 leaders in the Committee of Culture have changed each other. And in Moscow, already 12 leaders of culture in the Culture Committee have been changed. Well, there are no changes. Same people are there for ages. I think this is a problem. It means that there is no even a wish to develop. I've got colleagues,
мои подчиненные, помимо работы как бы стационарной со мной на наш театр, У них было
my
много своих
colleagues
проектов.
and
Почему ты не против? Они
used
там
to
тратят
have
время.
many
А почему я должен быть против?
projects
Если со
which
мной
they
рядом работает
ran
человек, который
were running by himself, and
интересен и
my
популярен в
friends
профессии,
might
его
get
хотят
surprised,
звать в
like,
другие
why
места,
don't
я
you
с удовольствием туда
object
отпускаю, потому что он там
against
получает тот же
having
опыт,
other
который потом все равно
colleagues
приносит
next to
результат
you
мне.
running their own project?
Плохо,
Well,
когда
and I
человек сидит и
said
понимает,
that,
что
and
если
I'm saying
он
that I'm
отсюда
always
уйдет, его больше
happy
никуда не
having
возьмут,
people
потому что он никому
around
не интересен. Вот это
which are
проблема.
interested with things.
И этим надо заниматься, мне кажется.
So I think this is a problem when people do not want to
Ну
do
да, я 8
anything.
лет назад
8 years
так получилось,
ago,
что
it
уехал в
happened
Москву.
that
8 лет там
I
живу, в
left
разных местах там
for
поработал.
Moscow.
И
I live in different
имею
places, I
колоссальный
moved to
опыт и
different
могу
places, and
заниматься
I do have an
ну,
experience,
театром, могу
and I
быть
can run
руководителем
theater,
театра.
I can be the leader of the
Не то
theater.
чтобы нет у меня прям
It's
предложений, но
not
если говорить
that
про то, что бы я хотел
if
делать, а я очень
speaking,
хочу, я люблю этот город вообще-то, и
I
пока еще
love this city.
ну как это, для меня не все потеряно в этом городе, и у меня есть
I
ну,
haven't
как бы,
lost
миссия,
everything
которая
in
готова
this
сюда
city.
вернуться.
I'm ready to get
И
back to
если
St.
уже предложение,
Petersburg.
то уважаемый комитет по культуре,
And there
если
are
вы посчитаете
So,
возможным или
dear
необходимо, чтобы я каким-то образом
Culture
участвовал в
Committee,
культурной жизни
if
города, я
you
готов
think
это
that you
обсуждать.
need me, I am ready to discuss with you.
В Москве тоже на каких-то конференциях говорят, что
And when in Moscow,
Петербург
at some
становится театральной
conferences,
провинцией,
they
он
say
становится немножко
that
грустновато,
St.
хотя
Petersburg becomes
иногда
a
нет
drama
аргументов, чтобы спорить.
province of
Наверное,
the
я на этом
country.
остановлюсь, пока
It's
не
really
наговорил.
very sad to hear.
Спасибо. Спасибо. Ну, вопрос о
Oh,
том,
thank you.
что
That's
и
very
кто
interesting. The question of
столица,
who
кто
and what,
провинция, кто
what
где, в
city
каком
is
городе
the
больше
provincial city
интересных
and
театров,
what is
сейчас
the
спорно.
capital is a very
В Москве или в
disputable.
Петербурге.
We argue about
Что в
that,
Москве мы
whether
тоже
in Moscow or
ткнем в
in
театры
St.
и
Petersburg
ничего не
we've
обнаружим.
got more
Понимаете,
interesting
вопрос
life.
сменяемости кадров, он
So
иногда даже и
the
не решает
question of
проблему,
the
потому что в Москве ротация
experts
кадров происходит, не скажешь,
doesn't
что она
mean
происходит
anything.
лучше.
Well, we see that
Значит,
there
в
is a
Петербурге она
rotation of
в меньшей
experts in
степени
Moscow,
происходит.
but we do
Ну,
not see that
тоже
it
мы
is
не
for the
можем сказать,
better.
что это к лучшему или к худшему. Значит, где-то к лучшему,
It doesn't
где-то к
happen
худшему.
that way in
Поэтому
St.
всё
Petersburg,
зависит
and
как
we
раз
also
от
cannot say
степени
that it is for the better. It
профессионализма.
all
И даже
depends
если
on the
кадры
degree
у нас, так сказать,
of
неёмные и,
professionalism
так сказать,
and
несменяемые, важно, чтобы
expertise
они были
degree.
живы.
It's
Вот,
important to
понимаете,
have
вот
everybody
это во всех
alive.
смыслах. Значит, да, во всех смыслах. И открытые к
In all
переменам,
meanings,
открытые к чему-то
those
новому. И вот
open
это
for
очень важно,
changes,
потому что,
there should be
конечно,
people
когда
open for
это
changes.
затухает,
And of course, it is very
затухает
important
всё.
to understand
Понимаете?
when
Поэтому
this
вопрос ведь
light
ещё, связан
is
и
getting
с системой
extinguished,
государственных
then
театров, системой негосударственных
everything
театров,
stops to exist.
их как бы
Another question is
взаимодействие и
the
прочее, прочее.
non-state
Безусловно, так сказать,
theaters
это,
and the state
вопрос,
budget
актуальный вопрос, как бы,
theaters.
театрального процесса.
This is the process of the,
Значит, а что
this is the
касается,
matter of theatrical
вот вы очень
process.
интересную, подняли
Another
проблему, и
interesting,
я считаю, что вот она тоже действительно очень
interesting
важная
problem
проблема
you raised, the problem of practical issues.
Когда-то действительно
Practice,
у нас была
because
система
we
практики,
used to
она и сейчас
have a
есть.
system of
Когда-то она
practice.
была очень
We used to
живая,
have
очень
it
активная.
very alive,
Свои
very active.
практики
I
в
remember
ВДТ
my
предустановлены,
practical
понимаете ли, на
sessions
всю
in
жизнь называется.
the
Значит,
Bolshoi
в памяти
drama
стоит.
theater of
Да,
Tовстоногов,
её было много,
and I
кстати
remember
сказать.
that, and it was a lot
Трижды за
of practical
период
sessions. We
обучения
had
мы
many
были на
practical
практике.
sessions. 3 times
Начиная
during
со
5 years,
второго
we had,
курса,
starting
значит,
from
и
the
кончая
second course and
четвёртым
finishing with the
курсом, мы
fourth
были
course.
на практике.
We
И я
always had
посчастливилось быть
practical
на
experience,
3 спектаклях
practical sessions.
Товстоногова, на выпуске 3 спектаклей, и это
And I
действительно
saw myself 3 performances of
через годы,
Tовстонogov, which he
понимаете,
made
когда
with the
я
students.
пришел, уже 25 лет назад в Александринский театр.
It was 25 years ago when I came to work in the Alexandrinsky Theater, and everybody told me, "What are you going to do there? You used to work as a scientist." But this practice with Tовстоногов just helped me. It worked. When I came to Alexandrinsky Theater, I knew what to do. I didn't have Chernyshevsky questions. I knew what I was doing because I had a practical session with Dina Schwartz, and she taught me everything as the peculiarities. How should I meet the guests at the premiere and stand at the premiere? Because people who came to the performance, they should see a recognizable face, not just the administrator, but they have to see a recognizable face. I always surprised that every time you come to Badate, you always see Dina Schwartz. She's always there, who speaks to you, who welcomes you, who can operate with the situation. And I realized, I understood, I got this law, and I still keep it. And I remember her teaching me. She brought a pack of plays, and she said, you have to read them and write your decision about every play, explaining why Tolstoy cannot stage it. No, you have to answer to each author of the play. Give a reason why to the author of the play why Tolstoy cannot stage it. So this kind of practices, practical courses, practical sessions is very important, and the distribution of practical sessions and managing the practical sessions is very important for us. We know that these agreements on the practical session for students, we get them renewed every year. So as for modernization and variety for this practice, contacts with real people on the in the theaters, this is a very serious thing, which our affiliated branches start to adopt. We have to think about that right now. We have to start thinking about that right now. Who is going to teach those people how to enter the educational process? Thanks God, our students mostly come to our alumni, and this is really very good because we speak the same language. This is very important, this system of practical sessions. So this problem does exist, and it requires renovations. So now I want to give the floor to Sergei Asintsov, the director of the Tyumeny Theatre. Good afternoon. I'm not going to dispute with the beloved university because it has always been my dream to study there. And when I entered, I studied in the, I took the distance course. I've been already an artist and producer on radio, and I used to work in the private theater. By the time I became the student, I had already experience. And then I studied at the theater science faculty and managers faculty. And for me, of course, that was very easy because I actually knew the theater from inside, because I started to work in the theater when I was 19. I didn't have any problems with the education, and I'm very thankful to the fact that I have in my diploma saying theatrical scientist and manager. It was very interesting. I learned a lot about the theater, the way it organized. But those students who were together with me, many of them were much younger. Many of those, they came right from the school. I think that education didn't give them anything. And this is the problem. I think that you cannot enroll people to the distance course who do not have any practical experience. Just the teenagers. Just today I arrived, and as far as I understand that the regional theaters are missing technical experts, because as for me, I would decrease the number of actors, because when once in 4 years we announce a casting of new actors, then all of them come to us. We have long lines. We do not need as many. We do not take them to our company because, unfortunately, the quality of education is not really the best. If they were taught better, then it would be easier for us. People do not come from Moscow and St. Petersburg to us. When they send us their resume that they have graduated from Moscow or St. Petersburg theater, we are really very alert. We become very alert. So why people who have graduated from the capital university, they want to come to Maine, for example, pretty far area. But anyway, we would love to have more technical experts because we're really missing them. As for staging, it's not possible. As for production and work on the stage, it's not possible. Stage technicians, it's not possible to get them. These are people who work in the theaters. These are just experienced people from other occupations. We try to apply engineers from the technical institutions. They do not understand what scenery is. They do not know how to count the loads of scenery. Light designers, these are those people who are needed badly in the theaters. And these professors, people who sew the costumes, designers of the costume, even the directors who work on the stage, they cannot make models. They just take references from internet and they say, I need this kind of costumes, I need this kind of scenery, and they just cut it out, glue together, and all the rest should be done by the experts on the local places. And I know how to cope with this problem because technical issues are very important. Well, I've got two accountants. We've got one is in his 60s, and he is very experienced and he knows everything. And the young one, we've got two accounts and the accountants. And the second one, he is very young, but he asks me every time what and how. He has a high education. He has his diploma from the secondary education, but also I have an expert who has graduated from the school at the age of 17, came to me on the commercial radio, then started to work as a commercial director. He doesn't have any education at all, but he is the best commercial director ever. And he has created a marketing department and he attracts lots of money for us. And they work successfully. I cannot send him for education because 30 years ago he finished this school and he doesn't have ЕГЭ, he doesn't have the result of the unified exam. Because this person is not able, doesn't need to know to pass the ЕГЭ. He doesn't have the diploma of the secondary education. Our structure is really very complicated. We have a concert and theater complex, one unified system. And if another general director comes, he may say that he doesn't need a marketing director without a diploma. So I'm just
Это
thinking how
смешно,
to
правда,
make the
смешно.
special
Но
educational
когда ты
courses for
когда ты видишь
ministry
какой-то региональный
officers
департамент, в
who
котором нет ни одного специалиста, который хоть
rule
как-то
and
бы закончил
manage the
хотя бы
cultural
институт культуры,
establishments.
то это очень сложно, когда тобой управляют такие люди, которые не понимают специфику театра.
Because people have to be
Когда с
educated.
тобой разговаривают языком, что у вас же
People
есть
do not
декорашки
understand
какие-то,
specifics
так вы
of the
отдайте их в другой
theater.
театр, они на этих декорашках другой спектакль
You
сделают.
well, if you have some
Поэтому
scenery in your
проблема
theater, you
глобальная
can.
в том
The
контексте, что,
ministry
наверное,
officers tell us
сегодня
to move
театральным
these
вузам
sceneries to
надо
to share our
распространять
scenery
свое
with
влияние в большей
other
степени даже и на
theaters, for
на
they
технические
over there
специальности и,
would
возможно, на
use it for their purposes.
специалистов, которые потом идут управлять,
So we
менеджеры,
do
которые
need
потом в
the
целом управляют
experts
культурой в регионах. Это
to run the
действительно очень
culture in
серьезная
the
проблема
regional
сегодня.
areas.
Обо всем остальном уже просто поговорили,
The
поэтому я
rest was spoken
такой
already.
более другой пласт взял сегодня.
Спасибо большое. Спасибо
Thank you.
большое. Действительно, здесь была поднята очень серьезная проблема.
Very
Проблема
serious problem
разных форм
was
обучения.
risen of
Потому
different
что
forms of
действительно здесь
education,
очень, так сказать,
because
такая
really
действительно вариативная
this
система
is a
должна быть, и
variable,
гибкая система,
flexible
которая
system is supposed to be, which is able
разные запросы
to
реализовывать.
realize
Человек,
different
который
demands.
имеет
The
высшее
one,
образование,
the person who
профильное,
has
который не имеет
high
профильного
special
образования,
education, the
человек,
one
который
who
вообще
doesn't
не
have
имеет никакого высшего
any
образования,
special
человек, которому
education.
нужно повысить свою квалификацию.
People are different. Some people do have education, some people do not have education, some people need to improve their education and get additional courses of master degree programs. Well, now we have the master degree program for artistic managers of the theater. In October, they are going to come from national theaters. These are people who are going for 2.5 years on the distance department they're going to study on the distant departments for an artistic director. This is not the same as to study directing. Not all of them are directors. Some of them are really artistic directors. So it means that these people really lack the theatrical knowledge. They do understand this, and they understand that they not just have to read something or to watch something. They need to have a system, because they're adult people. Once they have a system for their support, basing on this system, they can develop their ideas. Some years ago, Alexandrinsky Theatre had a tour to Vienna, to Austria, and we have a very experienced in Burg Theatre. There was a very experienced manager. She was the IO, and she said that the Ministry of Culture in Austria doesn't approve her position because she doesn't have a diploma. And then in some time she sent us the note that her position was approved because she got the diploma. So the director in the theater is supposed to have diploma, is supposed to have the education to get the system of knowledge. Education means the system of knowledge, systematic knowledge, knowledge combined in a system. So our managing, producing department started to appear in the middle of 60s. I remember that when in the courtyard of Makhovaya 25 there were gathering directors of Leningrad theaters, and we looked at them, we were watching them, wondering what kind of people are these? These are the directors of Leningrad theaters who entered the courses of the directors of the theaters. So starting from those courses gave the beginning of the whole department, managing department. So these courses maybe would be in a big demand today. We have these courses which increase the qualification, and today we have these teachers who do teach at these courses, and they offer and they suggest their programs, authentic programs. So this is a combination of different levels of education and verifying and varying of different courses regarding the terms, how long they might last. I remember with Gleb Firstinsky we made mutual courses on how to work with the new equipment. There were technical courses, and they got the certificates that they received the education, the certificate of our institute. There are many different variants, options. It's important to have a demand from the local theaters. We apply to those directors of the regional theaters who are listening to us and watch us with the request not to keep quiet, not to keep your demands to yourself. Talk to us, because we are very flexible with different variants. There is not a variant which we wouldn't be able to invent for us. This is my point of view, and I understand that this is so. As for the one single unified exam which our secondary school leavers have to pass, yes, this is a question. Here we might think we can work on that. If we deal with a person who is experienced enough and he is needed, then we can find a form which will allow us to give him some certificate. Thank you very much for your offer, for this turn of the problem. And now I give the floor to Yuri Samoilov, the chief director of the Theater of Puppets in Novokuznetsk. We already have.
Театр кукол. Не, ну серьезно. Сергей Вениаминович, вы, да, я хочу поблагодарить.
I just want to thank
Вчера аббревиатуру, это не очень всем нравилось. Я поступил в ГИТМИК и закончил ГИТМИК.
I entered Algitmic and I graduated from Algitmic. Thanks to everybody. It happens that I just occasionally happened to be in this sphere of art, the theater of puppets. I wanted to enter the acting department. I wanted to enter the directing department. So I didn't know what to do, and then we decided. You spoke about experiments, and I was alone with my artists who entered to directing department. This is a photograph of the... We speak about children. We speak about children with some health problems. The one in the lady in red, she's 74. Her arms and legs do not work, so she takes a pencil in her teeth and she writes poems. When I met with a group of adults like this, I just asked them a question: how do you take an idea of working with puppets? They were not they said they were at a loss.
Там, значит, еще один вот
People
вдалеке в белой
are
тенниске стоит,
disabled,
значит, Сергей
and how
такой.
can they
Вот. Он
operate with
музыкантом очень
puppets?
долго был, и у него случилась беда, рука у него правая парализовала, и он
Some
очень
people have
от этого страдал. Говорит, я вот
paralyzed
музыкант, и
limbs.
все для меня это уже
Some people are
никогда не будет. Я
musicians
говорю,
with
Сереж, не переживайте, хотите, я вас
problems.
на двухрядке научу, я
And
сам-то играю. Вот, он говорит,
I
как?
said, just
Ну, вот
don't
так.
worry. I
И
will
по поводу
teach
Хании,
you
возвращаясь к
to
ней,
drive,
я,
to
у нее
perform
очень
the
много внуков, я
puppets.
говорю, Хания,
Coming
вот
to
вам даю
Hani,
ей куклу,
the
значит,
person in the red,
планшетную, ну, это
I
кукла,
will
которая
teach you
управляется
to
двумя
work with
вожаточками, планш от слова да.
puppets.
И вот у нее ручки, я говорю, хулиган, нужно его, ну-ка усыпите. И она потрясена была словами, там как-то
So every
движением
time when I
каким-то стала усыплять,
told her how
ну,
to
кукла,
put a
персонаж говорит,
puppet
это
to
ваш
sleep,
внук. И он не может спать,
or
он
to
мешает.
make different
Вот.
actions
Вот такой
with
случай
puppet,
был. И, кстати,
they
возвращаясь
managed to do that.
Сергей Вениаминович, вы сказали, что сейчас поменьше бы
Once
артистов
you said
выпускать.
already
А я вчера
that we'd better
сетовал,
have not so
говорил,
many
что я, кстати,
actors.
спасибо огромное, я вот среди всех один
We do not
кукольник.
need
Вот.
as many
Кстати,
actors as
в
we have.
99 году
So
мы решили
I have a
создать
different
товарищество
opinion.
Объединения театров
On the
Петербургского
contrary,
региона,
I keep
и
a
оно до сих
different
пор
opinion.
есть, и Николай Петрович частый гость там у нас
Because I
бывает, и очень
am the
много
only one among
педагогов с
you
кафедры
is
приезжал
the
и
one who
говорили на
graduated
всяких
from the
фестивалях.
puppet
Вот.
department.
Для чего? Ну, во-первых, вот по поводу, вы сейчас
First of
говорили,
all,
что специалисты,
You've
и
already
один уже,
mentioned
так сказать, дослужился до того,
about
что
the
может уходить, а
experts.
молодой ничего не умеет. У нас развито вот это обмен опытом.
We
Мы
have
были в
highly
Томском театре
developed
кукол,
a
там из
system
Германии
of
приезжали специалисты.
sharing
И особенно
experience.
мы знаем, что
We
в театре
traveled to
кукол,
Germany.
наверное, одна из
We
сложнейших
know that the
профессий
theater of
это
puppets is
механизатор
one
кукол.
of the
То есть это вообще, ну,
most difficult
действительно такая
occupations.
очень уникальная
The
профессия. И
mechanical
мы
operator,
узнаем, в
mechanical
каких
manager
театрах, например,
of
есть вот
the
такие
technician,
мастера, так же, как
manager, technical
как
manager
модельер,
of
да, то есть
puppets.
костюмов. И мы посылаем специалистов,
So we send our
обмениваться опытом,
experts
и это,
to
кстати,
different
очень хорошая
countries,
такая вот
and they
вещь.
bring for us
Вот. И возвращаясь, так сказать, да,
experience,
к обучению, я еще раз говорю спасибо.
and we know how to do
И
that because of that
перспектив,
experience.
вот, по
And we
крайней
are
мере, я
very
говорю про наш
thankful to
театр,
that.
про город Новокузнецк,
Speaking
очень
about
большие,
our
поскольку у нас
theater in
замечательные есть
Novokuznetsk
проекты,
city, we've
и
got
я даже не знаю,
plenty
нас
of
этому не учили,
opportunities,
как это у нас
interesting
все
projects.
случилось.
And I should say
Например,
that we
я
were
хочу
not
рассказать о двух
taught
больших
to
действующих
do
проектах.
that.
Это первое, это
We've
кукла в
got
детских
two big
руках.
projects. This is
Николай
a
Петрович
puppet
часто
in
был в
the
жюри.
arms
Для
of
чего? Ну,
children.
выявление талантливых детей,
To
да, то
find
есть
talented
они у
children.
нас, так сказать, поступали в нашу сейчас академию, я опять запутаюсь, институт академии,
They
я вот в Дикунке
entered.
учился и закончил, извините. Вот. И у нас даже, кстати, поступали на художник-технолог, если я не ошибаюсь,
And even
то есть
people
не
from
только на актерский
our
факультет.
students and
И
from
серьезно,
our
это очень
company and from our
действенно, вот
theater,
этот вот
they
фестиваль «Куклы в детских
managed to
руках».
enter the
Да, кстати,
faculties
у нас
of
даже был такой случай,
St.
когда
Petersburg Academy.
театр драматический, у них
There was a
студия была
case
детям.
when
Ну, и они их готовили, и они пришли
academic
к нам на
drama theater
спектакль.
used to
Демо
have a
такой, спектакль
children's
у нас есть
studio,
по
and they
Лермонтову.
come
Вот.
to
Они
watch our
посмотрели этот
performance.
спектакль, ну, и
After
ушли,
this
мы
performance,
пообщались.
they left.
На следующий день приходит
Next
их
day, the
руководитель, говорит,
leader
давай
came
ругать
to us
меня,
and
нас.
started
Я
to
ничего не могу
lash
понять.
out
Что
at
это
me.
такое? Что
I couldn't
произошло? Я
understand
говорю, а что
what
произошло?
happened.
Они, говорят, не хотят, даже, может,
And
Николай
he
Петрович
said
знает эту историю, поступать. Уже
they
хотят
do not
поступать на
want
факультет актер театра кукол.
to
Вот такой случай
enter
был. То
acting
есть,
department,
как
but
я
wants to go
посмотрев
to a
случайно
puppet
спектакль
department.
кукольный, решил вот попробовать
Once,
себя вот в
that's
этом
the
виде
same
искусства.
experience. Once
И
I saw
вот
a
я
puppet
сейчас сказал,
theater,
что два
I wanted to
действующих
try
давно уже
myself
проекта — это
in
«Кукла
a
в детских руках».
puppet
И самое, наверное, для нас вот
theater.
необычный этот проект. Родился он в 2009
This is
году.
a
Это
very
программа «Кукла
unusual
вечер». Это не просто съездить в
program.
больницу и сыграть спектакль.
This is not
как
just
Кемерово
to
говорят. У нас тоже.
go
Я не хочу
to the
никого обидеть.
hospital and
Это
entertain
такой,
the sick
знаете,
people
ну, вот два
there
примера.
to
У
play a
нас есть
performance once.
центр такой,
I don't
ДЦП,
want to
да, то есть
offend
там дети,
anybody.
ну,
We've
разных
got
тоже
a
возрастов.
center
Кстати,
with
вот
sick
это у нас
children
уже
with
взрослый
central
состав,
cerebral
Наталья такая. Она сейчас,
problems.
кстати, в Санкт-Петербурге. Здесь уже года 3, как она уехала с Новокузнецка. И вот она тоже, у нее не очень хорошо и с руками, она очень
we've got
движение, и она
examples
колясница, вы видите. Но,
of
тем не
people
менее,
who
она
are
участвовала
really
в
disabled,
спектакле. Это такой
and
был
they
проект 3 толстяка, Давид Семенович
can
Бурман выиграл
participate in the
грант президентский.
performances.
И мы, значит, решили
And
сделать
we
по произведению. У нас
got a
3 толстяка
grant
были, это
from the
человеческий,
president.
значит,
We won
жадность,
it, and we made a
значит,
performance
безразличность и
about
ну,
greed,
что-то еще такое. То есть вот
indifference,
эти
and
3
something
толстяка, в
else.
этом направлении мы и работали.
There
И, кстати,
was-
работали мы, это была зима,
It was in
работали
winter.
на улице.
We worked
В
in the
этом проекте
street, in the
принимали,
open
естественно,
air.
участники наши, вот эти взрослые,
We
правда,
had
не
our
детишки,
adult
а дети у нас
participants
это первый класс,
taking
и
part in
до
our
8-го мы
performance.
выпустили уже 3 группы, вот. И они вот принимали участие. Наша задача была
Our
показать
task was
жителям города
to show
Новокузнецка,
to the
что такое вот
citizens of our
человек
city
в коляске.
what
Да?
is
Было предложено
what
тем,
is
кто
it
пришел
like
смотреть
to
этот проект,
be
поскольку,
in
еще
a
раз повторюсь, он
chair
происходил на
well,
улице, там
in a
специально была сцена
wheelchair.
сделана.
What
Вот.
does it
Мог
mean to
попытаться,
be
например,
disabled
сесть в
person,
коляску
to
и
be on a
подвигаться по разным
wheelchair?
там
And we
предлагаемым
offered to
обстоятельствам,
those
которые мы
healthy
предлагали. Ну,
people
обычным
to
жителям.
try
Вот.
this wheelchair,
И,
just to
значит,
sit in it and
все-таки это было
move in it.
замечательно, этот проект. Он
So
много
that project
чего
really
изменил. Кстати, Владимир
entered many
Львович
changes in our
Машков
life.
пытается
And
детей,
Vladimir
сидят в зале детишки, ребята,
Lьвович
которые не
Машков,
взрослые, это
you see
дети
here on the
особые.
picture,
Ну, как бы
tries
вдохновить, они стесняются,
to-
боятся выйти на сцену и работать с куклой. Владимир Львович как раз в этот период. Он, кстати, художественный руководитель нашего этого проекта. В 2011 году он присоединился. Вот, он говорит, смотрите, вот я
Vladimir
сейчас пойду.
Mashkov
Я вообще
entered
не
this
кукольник.
project in
Владимир Ильич, ну как же вы
2011.
выросли в театре кукол. Он действительно вырос, папа у него был
Well,
артист,
he
Лев,
grew
а
in
мама
a
была главным режиссером.
theater of
Кстати,
puppets.
он утвердил
His parents
свою
were
премию.
artists.
Наша
His
премия, вот «Кукла в
father
детских
was
руках»,
the artist of the
это
puppet
Петрушка
show,
вручался. У нас
and
не было
his
первых,
mother was
вторых,
an
третьих мест.
actress.
У нас было Петрушка серебряный, Петрушка
We
золотой
had
и,
Petrushka
спасибо, Николай Петрович,
silver
говорит,
one,
ребят,
Petrushka
ситцевый.
golden one,
То есть,
and
ну, всегда на
Petrushka
Руси
made of
считалось, ситец
fabric.
это очень такой
Fabric.
материал, как дорогой и редкий. Вот. А Владимир Львович предложил, говорит, я
And
хочу
Vladimir
еще один
Mashkov
приз.
suggested
Это
to make
лучшая
another
работа, значит,
prize
актерская. Мальчик и девочка. Значит,
for a
«Золотого
boy and a girl,
львенка»,
a
то есть
golden
конкурс был объявлен, дети
little
присылали
lion,
всякие
lion
варианты,
cub.
рисунки этого львенка, а уже в наших цехах исполнение было этого. Ну,
And then
позолочено, он
children
действительно
participated in the
выполнен
competition
такого
for
размера
making a
небольшого, ну,
model
я не
for
знаю, вот
an
почти
award.
как вот этот
So
вот,
little golden
бокальчик.
lion
Вот.
cub.
И он позолоченный. Плюс к этому, ко всему, Владимир Львович еще вручал и вручает до сих пор по $1000. То есть вот ребятишкам,
And plus money,
поскольку это дает на много чего там
$1,000
поступать и вообще.
goes as a gift.
Вот. И, значит, еще раз хочу сказать, что кукла лечит. Это
course,
проходит
puppets,
специальные занятия. Хочу
they
рассказать.
cure.
Начал, сбился, увидел фотографию. Кстати, вот эта группа не
Puppets
старшая, это вот
cure.
последний.
What you see
Значит, он
now,
уже в 8 классе.
this boy,
Это Антон.
he's
Кстати, он приезжал на
in the
фестиваль
8th
Пукарт
grade.
в том
He
году.
visited
Участвовал. Это
already,
спектакль «Две
participated in
стрелы».
different
И
festivals.
он у
And
нас
this is a performance,
работает
Two
в
Arrows.
зале.
He
подставной
works
такой,
in
ну,
the
как будто бы. Там на самом
hall.
деле все, он выходит на сцену, работает с куклой.
He
Вот.
goes up
И,
to the
значит,
stage and he
хочу
works
сказать,
with
что
the puppet.
вот этот вот, значит, опыт, он, да, я
This
начал рассказывать,
experience
что когда мы приехали первый раз в центр
Was very
ДЦП,
important for us when
нас
we, for
встречала
the first
девочка,
time,
которая
came to disabled center.
ползла. То есть вот она
We were
ползком
met
просто
by a
ползла.
girl
Я,
who could only
то есть
crawl.
я прямо, ну, был потрясен, я не знал.
I
Меня
was
вот так, знаете,
shocked.
затормозил, я поднимаюсь по ступенькам, и она улыбается и ползет. Но она больше никак не могла действовать. К чему я этот случай
She was
рассказываю?
just crawling and
Вот. Мы
smiling.
начали заниматься, и
We
буквально
started
через
to work with
где-то
her,
3
and
месяца
in 3
она
months
уже,
period,
значит,
she
перебиралась по
already
стеночке.
could
А
walk
почему? Потому что хотела
leaning on
участвовать
the
в
wall
спектакле.
because
А
she
у нас был
wanted
такой
to
эксперимент. Мы
participate
взяли
in the
несколько
performance.
ребятишек
And
и
we had
вместе
an
с артистами
experience when
прямо
we
вот настоящий спектакль,
had
взяли зрителей, купили билеты.
some
Вот,
children,
они
and
просто
together
водили
with the
кукол, а
audience,
артисты уже, так
we
сказать,
mixed children with the
играли
audience,
роли.
and they
Вот.
could
И,
drive the
вот это
puppets,
всё
they played
увидев,
the
то есть,
roles.
например, одна девочка, там, Юлия
One
заплакала,
girl
говорит, что такое, я
even
тоже
got
хочу.
so
Говорю, ну,
touched, she said
там, видишь,
that
надо
she
находиться очень
started
долго,
to cry.
ходить,
She
стоять,
said
а
that
ты
she wants
сколько можешь
to
постоять? И
try
вот
this
прошло буквально
2
тоже
And
немножко времени,
it took
она
some
потом уже
time.
участвовала у нас в
That
спектакле. Я к тому,
girl
что
also
родился потом
was
слоган
able
«Кукла лечит,
to
кукла учит и
take
кукла вдохновляет».
part in
Это
our
что
performance,
касается
because
проекта.
really puppets,
И
they
еще
help.
у нас родился
And
буквально
then
вот 5 лет
another
проект 3+5 «Кузнецкая карусель». 3+5,
another
понятно,
project
кузнецы, да? Которые
appeared with
играют,
us,
готовят спектакли
3
небольшие,
plus
там
5.
10-15 минут.
These
Вот,
are
и
children who play
фестиваль у нас
short,
проходит. И тоже,
short
кстати,
performances.
они с прицелом у нас
We've got
поехать куда-то, то
festivals.
есть на какой-то более фестиваль солидный. Вот.
Of course, we aim,
И
our
еще
target is
хочу
to
с
visit,
гордостью
to
сказать,
go
что
with a
поддержал
tour
губернатор,
to a
поддержал глава
bigger
города
festival,
Новокузнецка.
and the
Наше
governor of
здание, те, кто
Novokuznetsk supports us.
наши здесь сидят, знают наше здание на Металлургов 31.
Our
Николай Петрович
building
там
is
тоже много
located
раз бывал.
on
Там
Metallurgov
зал
Street
96 мест, очень
31
уютный,
for
замечательный.
96
И
seats.
поддержал еще раз тоже губернатор, глава города.
Our
То есть я не
governor
знаю,
supports us.
ну, положу жизнь, но такое желание,
We have a
что это
wish,
будет
very strong
театр
wish,
особых детей.
that this is
Ну, то
going
есть
to
они
be a
будут там
theater of
репетировать,
very
показывать
special
спектакли, ну, то есть по-настоящему.
children, where
Ну
they're
вот,
going to
собственно.
have their rehearsals,
Извините.
prepare their performances,
Спасибо.
and show them.
Спасибо. Потрясающее, так сказать, такое
Yeah, this is a very interesting experience, very puppet therapy.
Ну да, ну трудотерапия и куклотерапия, она совершенно потрясающая, когда
It's surprisingly
кукольный театр
positive experience
выходит
when
вот
puppet
с такими
theater
функциями, понимаете ли?
carries out these
наша
functions.
еще и в этом направлении
So it
работает.
happens that our
Это
school
прекрасный,
also
так сказать, прекрасный
keeps
пример,
working in
и,
this direction.
просто
And this
очень
example
вдохновляющий.
is
Да.
Одну
wonderful.
минутку, я забыл
It's
сказать,
very
что
inspiring.
в конце,
At
вот
the
там в мае,
end
когда заканчивается
of
учебный год,
May,
собирается
we
круглый стол, приходят
have a
родители,
round
бабушки, те,
table
кто
of
с детьми вот
parents,
с этими,
of
ну, то есть, кто у них
grandparents,
питается, мы проводим
of
такой
those
диалог.
sick
Что это
children,
дает? Вот просто
and
в
we
жизни не
talk
только,
to
что
them.
они куклу водят там и замечательные
And
спектакли, но по жизни они
all
меняются.
these
Они другими
people, they say
становятся,
that
и это
children
благодаря
change, and they are very grateful to us. Of course, if a child, a kid can stand, can move differently, of course, this is a great experience and great inspiration, great help. This light, this angle of our theater school is really inspiring. So our experts today and our alumni and our professionals in all different directions now shared their opinion with you, and maybe our audience would love to take part in our conversation. We have an open microphone, and maybe there would be a feedback. Maybe we could have, maybe we could continue our discussion. Maybe we could share our impressions.
Елена Вячеславовна, может, вы скажете? Я буду очень рад.
The first deputy head of the University of Performing Arts, Елена Tretьякова. Thank you. Well, I'm very happy that we have such a broad audience today in comparison to yesterday. It means that the broadcast works, and it is not just wasting of time, and there is an interest to the aspects which we are discussing at the moment, and this conversation happens to be quite acute. We're raising problems, we're facing challenges, and I can pick up many things which I want to note in a special way. I would like to pay attention to the practical seasons issue, and I agree that when we send our students to for the practical session in the theater, we would really love to have more precise and serious attitude and interest of the theater towards our student, because now this is very difficult to make such an agreement, because there are people who are responsible for that over there in the theater, and this is the whole story now today, to make this agreement. Theaters are not looking for this agreement. They do not want to work with our students and to teach them. They don't want, they're not looking for that. And I see that problem, and I understand that there is a problem like this. Maybe the fact that we have these affiliated branches now would allow us to make this geography of our students much broader, to expand the geography. Well, in any case, the connection that used to be so natural. I remember when I was a student, I had my practical session on television. I had my practical session on the EFRS theater. I was I had a practical session in the newspaper Soviet Culture, Mariinsky, Kiev Opera and Ballet Theatre, and all those practical sessions, they are still in front of me, in front of my eyes. Why we've got such a decrease of the interest? And as the pro-rector, I can tell you that this is a very big issue for us. As for the program, educational programs, academic program, how many years the students should study, of course, these are all things which are discussed at the faculties, because we are related with the theater, which every day changes. Performances come and go. We all remember very well this formula that performances come and go. We have changes. So in order to be together with the theater, to go together with the theater, we need not only just to be able to immerse in the theater, but we need to get immersed in the academic process. So the practical sessions do really are really necessary for us, from the point of view of teaching, from the point of view of learning. We know that there is a saying that it is not possible to teach, it is possible only to learn. I think that all the rest of people who are here maybe have already understood very maybe made already their mind on whether they want to learn in our institution or not. So discussion of this kind of problems is also a mutual problem. It's also a mutual process. If someone would share with me the suggestions and offerings, I would be very, very grateful. Thank you. Well, we are the students of the directing department from the puppet faculty. So what I wanted to say is that I understand very well position of Alina, because we together, she has graduated not so long time ago, we are finishing now, and our knowledge and our approximate knowledge and education is approximately the same, because we have the same teachers working and teaching us. I think that this is not just a position of complete denial, but position when we are looking for help, we are looking for more knowledge. we are very greedy for knowledge. We're dying for knowledge. Just recently, I visited Crimea, and I understood what does it mean to deal with people outside of our university. So, when the weak point of the academic life is that we do not see real people who can teach us, practitioners, real practitioners who work in the theater, who are directors in the theater, who work on the sound, on light. So these meetings were very important for us, and discovery for me was that I made acquaintances with the producers, because we do not have such a practical course in our institute. When the director of the puppet theater, they do not meet producers. We don't know how to work with them. We do not know how to work with them. We never saw them because they study at the different floor. And after I have met them on a different set, I understand that I would like to have the same things for my colleagues, for my friends and future directors. That's why I believe that they should come together, the creator and the producer. Well, the matter is that this is really a problem. It's not a new problem. There is a problem that there are problems which exist always. This problem always existed. What we have got, what is on one side of Makhovaya Street, what is on the other side of Makhovaya Street, we wanted to make a bridge. But there is another moment that you are right, that at the end we need to meet people together. But in order this demand would appear, first you need to become a professional, and then later you have to get involved in this life and get to know better the craft, which is going to be kind of a safety pillow for you. We spoke about connections on the master degree level. Maybe these connections should be started earlier. Я не слышу, у него микрофон не работает. Эта женщина не включает микрофон, я не слышу, что она говорит. Вероника, у нее микрофон не работает. Well, possibly. There is a necessity in that, of course. Maybe not at the very point when we have to issue diploma performances, but at some point when we say that they've got already professional experience, we need to think about this interdisciplinary things, because it's not by chance that you read lectures at the faculties, special faculties, organization of the theater business. It does exist. We've already made it on this certain stage, like artists work together with directors, and some of the masters, they make special accent on this, on the friendship of certain parallel courses. Of course, all this depends on the program, and horizontal connections, as they say, they do
В
exist,
них есть потребность,
and there is a
безусловно,
demand in them,
безусловно.
of course.
Пожалуйста.
I don't understand what is why cannot we put in practice? If you've got directors on the other floor, you need to just develop the timetable. Today we've got so many competitions for students when they can meet, when they can get experience. It was not, but just you have to remember, I always send information to the dean's office. This is just your initiative. I cannot oblige you to send your students to visit different festivals and competitions. There are lots and lots of grants. It's just your will. It's just your will required to understand it. This is a problem for us because I understand that you do study, you are busy, you are tightly busy, but the fact, because we cannot impose it on you, we always have meetings for producers and theater sciences and get different professionals involved when we have the premiere of performances. Teachers really complain about lack of information. Some people can be over it. So take this initiative, follow this initiative. We will be very happy. Я не слышу ничего. Now they discuss the experience regarding children's education. And they speak about the rewards. It is important to understand if the activists work for the salary or they work for some interest from the project, which they get from the project. Yes, during the education, I didn't manage to meet real practical practitioners, but I was invited in some company where there were stage directors. They needed a good actress to be the model and muse to create pictures, and that was a workshop of Peter. And for me, that was such a new, amazing experience of being able to enter a workshop. And now we have students from the 4th course, and within several months I was visiting the sessions over there. I was staying as a model, and about 7 or 8 students had to paint their portraits in different styles, in different genre. Cubism, impressionism, and I learned a lot about that an ear grows from the head and different things, and they were looking at me as if I was a certain object which they had to read exactly and put it on the canvas. And when looking at these young and very perspective girls, I realized that there is future for these young students to make model, to make a sketch, to draw a costume. When I visited the exhibition, everyone presented her piece of art, and each of them presented everything, like the artistic director, costume designer, everything. And I stayed for their discussion then later. No one was praised. No one. They didn't praise anybody. Even the one who got the excellent scores. And I really made sure that the quality of education is very high. Because when I see how well it is done, it was done very professionally by hands. I saw them working on these models. And the teacher was so strict to them. He didn't praise, he didn't say anything good to anybody. And I thought, well, really, this students will make real good experts. And as for the practice, many of them are invited to participate in different projects, even located in different cities. And even in our academy, these students create sceneries and decoration, and they construct it and build it and paint it. So I want to believe that they have future. They have future.
Это если они правда умеют считать нагрузки. У нас нет проблем с
If
художниками,
they
у нас проблемы с
really
нагрузками.
can count loads.
С технологами вы имеете в виду. Да, спасибо большое.
Полина, извините, я перебью просто.
Да.
Полина, на самом деле это прекрасно, что
Well,
вы
actually, this is great that you had such an experience. And it's good that you praise the artists. I really love them too. And I'm happy that we have a very high-quality education for artistic directors. Just many of those who come for a practice session to us. And our theater is very open for practical studies. We had young people visiting us, and they made performances, and our artists, they tried their hand in the different works. But there are technical nuances. Unfortunately, an artist comes, he makes a scenery, he makes a model, and then it happens that it doesn't fit the stage because he made a mistake in scale, and he doesn't understand how to make a cross, for example, to fit the stage. These are nuances that I was talking about. I want once again to get back to the issue of the link, the connection between the theater and the practical stage. For example, we teach students. We used to work with the students. We have a limited company, but we used to attract young students to be involved in our extras, and we'll even pay them. They started to understand how the theater works, who is the deputy of director, who is the expert in there, who is the manager of the company. But then the academy said, no practical sessions, let them have a practical courses in the institute. And this is quite a problem. We enrolled now people from different institutes, from the old institutes, and then the young artists asked me, who is this woman who keeps staying on the stage all the time and tells everybody what to do? I told her, this is a deputy director. Where does she come from?
Ага, а почему режиссер считается
then
автором спектакля?
why then
Это же
the
ведь Чехов
director is
написал.
the author of the
И
performance?
вот
But
я
it
еще
was
раз говорю,
written
это
by
реально,
Chekhov.
это старейшие институты,
And
которые, я
these
говорю,
are
вам
the
преподавали театральное
oldest.
дело?
Well,
Он
did you
говорит,
get the
ну да, было, а чему нас
theater
там учить? Ну, нам
business?
рассказывали, как контракты заключать.
What
Всё.
did you
Не
learn
знаю, с чем
there?
это связано.
Well,
Скорее
how
всего,
to
с тем,
make the
что как раз
contracts.
вот
And I know what it
не
is
приглашают
related with.
практиков для преподавания
They
того же
do
театрального дела,
not
например.
invite
Институты не
practical
взаимодействуют с
people
театрами.
in
Театры
order
отказываются
to
категорически пускать к
teach
себе студентов. Я преподавал
theater
в нашем
business.
институте
I used to teach
театральное
in
дело
our
1 год.
institute
Платили мне
the
что-то 200
theater
рублей в
business.
час, по-моему, если не
They
ошибаюсь. Мне дороже
paid
было
me
на бензин потратить.
200 per
Студенты
hour. It was
приходили
more
артисты,
expensive for
которые
me
вообще не
to
понимали, зачем
buy
театральное дело, зачем
gas
они должны это
for
всё
the car.
достигать.
Students
Они не
didn't
ходили на
understand
занятия,
why they
уговорить их было невозможно.
needed
Я к
that.
тому, что вот
They
сама
didn't
система вот этого
come to my
понимания
classes. They
практики
didn't
для них
understand why
вообще
they need that.
загадка.
So
Я
the practical
что, ребята,
issue
вы
is
артистами, может,
always
и не
a
будете, но вы
question.
будете потом
I
хотеть
told
в
them
свой
that
театр
maybe
открыть, вы
you
должны знать законы,
will
вы
not
должны знать
be
устройство
an
театра, вы должны
actor,
понимать, что
but
театр
maybe
это
you will want
неокупаемая
to
история, вы
open
никогда
your
не будете на нем
theater. You have to
зарабатывать.
understand that a theater,
ну,
this is something
сожалению,
which
проблема
will
большая.
never bring you
Безусловно,
money.
так сказать,
You're not
здесь
going to
взаимность,
make money
взаимное
on
понимание
on
должно
running
быть.
a theater.
И
Of course, there
действительно, вы
should be a
совершенно
mutual
правы, что и
understanding.
в театрах иногда они,
Yes,
вот
right
вы
you are.
идеальный в данном случае руководитель
It's
театра,
not
а
always that
бывают и
in the
ситуации,
theaters
когда да, зачем
we
нам еще какие-то практиканты,
we
понимаете,
may
зачем нам это
face,
действительно
we
платят
may have such a
там
question
3
when
копейки,
the theater
зачем мы
doesn't
должны еще
understand when
заниматься
the
этим? Ну, действительно,
practical
институты вообще
students looking for
бедные, честно
practice
говоря,
come
это
to.
правда. И платить нам самим платят 3
Because
копейки.
the
Понимаю. Вот в
theaters
этом
and
тоже
the
есть проблема
institutes are
определенная.
В
poor.
этом проблема. В этом
They don't
проблема,
have money to
безусловно.
pay.
У института
This is
бюджет
also a problem.
микроскопический,
The
зарплаты
education establishment
только
doesn't
с
have
президентским
budget,
грантом что-то
and the
такое
salaries
имеют
are interesting only those which have the
что-то
presidential grant.
удобоваримое. Вот. И практика, конечно, оплачивается
And as for practical
копеечно.
courses,
Это правда.
they do
Это
not
правда.
get
Это не
money
то, что
for
мы
it
сейчас вот
at
скажем,
all.
вот мы с вами заключаем контракт на руководство практикой.
It's
там,
not that
и
they
вы
are
щас
ready and
достойное
willing to
что-то
make
получите.
agreements, to make
Этого нет. Это
contracts.
правда.
No,
И
it
это
doesn't
в
exist.
значительной степени энтузиастическое дело.
This is
То есть,
very
практики, которые
enthusiastical. It
понимают,
depends on
что
enthusiasm
вот
of
от
people who
этого
work
зависит
there. If
завтрашний день,
people who work
вот,
there
они
understand
это
that
понимают и идут на это. Я помню,
the future
сам
depends
руководил
on the
практикой, будучи в
practical
театре,
course.
и делал это чисто альтруистически.
Я-то готов
Да.
ведь был альтруистически их учить
Well,
театральному делу. Но
I'm
я-то
ready
понимаю,
to
что
work
мастерам было
altruistically,
неважно. Им важно было
but
просто
I
закрыть учебный
understand
план,
that
чтобы
it was just
Это
important
зависит
for
от
the
разных мастеров,
university
это, так
and
сказать,
to the teachers
индивидуально.
just to
Вы
make a
знаете, это очень
contract.
индивидуальное дело.
This is very
Кто-то
individual.
этим озабочен,
Some
и
people
они
really
понимают, что
after
действительно,
the contract,
скажем,
and some
Георгий
people
Александрович Товстоногов
are
до
after
третьего
the
курса вообще их не
timetable.
пускал в театр.
Well, for
Не
example,
своих
Tovstonogov
режиссеров,
never
понимаете?
let
До
them
своей даже
in
репетиции
before
не
they
пускал.
reached the
Потом пускал. И они
third
приходили,
course.
так сказать,
And then, after the third
понимали,
course,
что такое театр.
they
Мы
came
ходили,
to our theater and they
театроведы
understood
БДТ
what
с
was
первого
it.
курса начиная,
Those who
понимаете?
studied
И мы бы
theater
знали больше, а
science,
мы
we
параллельно
used to go to
ходили
the
еще
theater,
на курс
starting from the
режиссеров
first
Товстоногова. Они нам
first
завидовали,
course.
потому что мы
And they
ходили на
really
его
were very
репетиции, а они нет.
envy
Понимаете?
to us because
И,
we who
но
studied
мы,
the
то,
theater
что мы
science, we
выходили к Товстоногову
went to
на
listen to
репетиции,
his
во все
rehearsals and his lectures,
подразделения
but the
театра
actors,
ходили.
they didn't go.
Это, конечно,
We
несказанно.
had access to all
И,
departments of the
то,
theater.
что, кстати сказать, и Товстоногов, я помню даже, когда нас привели
And also,
в
I remember that
зал БДТ,
when
Товстоногов
we
сказали,
came to
историю лошади.
BDT,
Значит,
Tовstonogov
нас
had a
Дина
rehearsal
Моррison
of
ввела
the
в зал.
history of the horse, and Dina Morrison
Пауза в
ended us
репетиции, она
to
нас
the
подводит к
hall.
Товстоногову
She
и говорит,
brought us
вот
to
это мои
Tовstonogov. She
практиканты,
said,
Георгий
"These
Александрович,
are
они
my
будут у вас
practical
сидеть на
students.
репетиции».
They're
На что
going to
он
stay at the
сказал,
rehearsal."
ну
And he said,
да,
"Okay,
у вас хорошая аура, сказал
you
он.
had a
Мы
good
думали, какая
aura."
аура, мы сидели в
We thought,
последнем ряду.
what kind of
Значит,
aura?
он нас
We
заметил,
were
значит,
sitting
он понял,
in
что мы
the
его не
last
раздражаем ничем.
row of
Значит,
the
он
hall.
нас
It
оценил,
meant
и
that
потом в какие-то
he
моменты вдруг
noted us.
оборачивался.
He
Говорит, ну, как вы
noticed us.
думаете? Это было
He even
такое
asked us a
уважение
question,
к... Что
what
мы
do you
были там,
think? What do you
второкурсники?
think?
Это
We
был
were
уже
just
второй
the
курс.
second
Значит, мы были
course students.
второкурсники, на дачниках сидели уже. не на истории лошади, а на дачниках. Значит, он обращался к нам. как
he
вы
spoke
думаете?
to us, asking us
Это было
questions.
действительно, он
What do
понимал,
we
что
think?
мы у него учимся.
Because he
Это было
knew that we are
замечательно.
learning
Вот.
from him.
Конечно, таких уроков не каждый раз обретешь. И это, конечно,
This is a very
индивидуальное
rare
дело.
thing,
Где-то это
individual
срабатывает,
thing, rare
где-то
thing,
это не
precious thing
срабатывает.
that
И
we
это,
could
конечно же,
have a
зависит не от
chance to
денег,
learn in
конечно,
this
от
way. It
контракта,
didn't
чтобы, так
depend
сказать,
on
было
money.
официально
It, of course, depended on the
разрешено туда
contract. There should
приходить.
be
И
a
это,
legal
конечно, зависит еще и
base
от
for all
обучающихся,
this, but also
от
depends
их
on the students,
заинтересованности. Вот
on
вы сказали,
the
что
way they are
спросили про
interested or
Помреже.
not.
Ну, может быть,
You
эти
brought this
студенты просто
example with the
невнимательно
question
слушали
from
то,
your
что им
students about
объясняли.
the
Потому что это, конечно,
direct deputy.
кстати сказать о Помрежах, откуда берутся Помрежи. Мы в магистратуре
When
несколько
we
лет назад
give
у нас был курс
give a
Помрежа.
program of master degree program, there was a special course from the deputy directors.
Из артистов
Where do they come
Театроведов.
from the
театроведов, тоже, так сказать,
actors,
слишком
from the
любящих
theater
театр. Вот, значит, так
scientists.
вот мы сделали курс, где вот эти
So we made
люди
a course
прошли еще и
where
технику записи
these
спектакля,
people
и технику, так сказать,
studied
записи
the
репетиций,
technical
и, так сказать,
peculiarities of recording
чтение и
the
составление
performance,
режиссерского
reading the
экземпляра,
performance,
ходового
reading the
экземпляра и
play
так далее.
for
Они все это
the
прошли.
director,
И разные
working
технологии, и все.
sample.
Это была магистерская программа.
And that was a
И,
master
кстати сказать,
degree
вот, люди из
program.
разных профессий
And people from
обучились
different
этому.
occupations
Так что,
studied
если будет
it.
на то
So
некий заказ, мы
if
можем такую
there is
программу повторить.
there is an
Поэтому,
sort of
значит,
an
я еще
order
раз
for that,
обращаюсь к
we are
нашим
ready to
практикам.
repeat that program.
Значит, пожалуйста, вот ваш заказ, что называется,
if
озвучивайте, не таите у себя. Эти проблемы
If you have a demand,
решаемы.
then don't keep it.
Действительно,
Don't
мы
keep
вчера
it. Tell
говорили
us.
о том, как
Yesterday
связана
we
наша
discussed
школа с
how our
регионами.
school
Это наша
is
тема.
related
И
with
вот,
the regions.
здесь,
And
я
this
очень
is
рад, что
our
сегодня
topic.
присутствует
This is
Николай
our
Петрович,
theme. I'm
Наумов,
happy
у
to
которого
see
есть
Nikolai
опыт
Petrovich
по этому
Naumov here,
поводу,
who
огромный,
has his
связи
very
с
big
региональными театрами,
experience.
с
He's
разными
connected
формами
highly with the
обучения
regional
и
theaters
систему повышения квалификации.
on the
И,
system of
так сказать, собственно, набора
increase
целевых
of
курсов. Николай Петрович, я
qualification.
хотел бы, чтобы вы несколько слов
I
сказали.
would love you to
Пожалуйста.
share, to
Да,
say
а
some
я вот
words.
вам и хочу его предоставить, даже до того, как вы его попросили. Пожалуйста. Микрофончик дайте, пожалуйста.
Я хотел немножко о другом говорить, но потом
Well, I
вернусь.
wanted
Действительно, связи с
to add
регионами у
something.
нас есть.
Well,
Вот
we
сидит
do have
как раз наш
relations with the
регионер.
regions. This is
У
one
нас
of
с этим
our
театром очень давно связи
regional
хорошие в каком плане? Они
worker.
набирали при колледже
There was a
актерский курс,
college, and they made
забирали
an
слишком
acting
себе, а потом к
department
нам на
there.
заочный. Вот такая
and,
цепочка была, такая много лет.
Then they sent it,
Далее,
the
Юра
students
говорил
to our distance department.
фестивале
You also
«Куклы в
spoke
руках
about the
детей».
festival
Там
with the
собираются
children,
все кукольные
with
детские
disabled
коллективы
children.
со
Over
всей
there,
России, даже международные уже
puppet
приезжали.
groups, puppet
Это наши
companies from
кадры.
all over Russia
Ну, а тут
used to
актеры,
come there. These are our experts. And
студент, получивший 2 львенка,
we have students who
на
received
актерском курсе,
2
блестяще занимаются.
lion cubs,
Вот
and
эти связи
they are
надо
having wonderful
поддерживать.
results.
И далее,
We
у
need
нас
to
связи
keep
со
these
школами
relations. Then we have relations
берем
with the
тоже
School
кадры?
of Arts. We
Нам присылают,
invite
что вот
people
это бери,
from
а это
there.
не бери, говорит педагог.
The teachers tell us, well, enroll this student and
Насчет
do not enroll
практики в
this
театрах.
student.
Мы уже
As for
говорили
the
об этом.
practical courses in the theaters, we
Когда-то у
spoke
нас
about
было
that already.
актерское обучение 5 лет,
We used to have acting
и нам не хватало.
education,
Я по себе.
which
Надо
lasted
освоить
5
5 систем
years.
кукол.
And
Когда
it was
это
not
делать?
enough for us. We need
Но мы
to
говорили,
study
а почему бы на
5
пятом
different
курсе не
systems
отправить
of
ребят,
puppet.
актеров на практику?
And we discussed it. Why not to arrange the practical course
И
for
акклиматируется
puppet
там,
students?
акклиматизируется
And
там.
fifth
Да, и
year,
оклемается
it would
потом
be
от института.
the practical
останется,
for
даже
him
нет
enough
распределения.
to stay
Никто
over
не
there,
видит региона.
because now
И могу
now there
повторить,
is
что
not
сегодня
we don't have a system of
профессиональное
obliged
актеров-кукольников в
job
регионах, то, которое было в
opportunities.
1959 году, когда Михаил Михайлович стал набирать
It was in 2010 when they started to arrange this special department for puppet because they need education.
Вот мы нашли способ такого общения. Я сейчас хочу вот чего коснуться. Все-таки, когда сказали, что
When you say that, I can agree with you when you said that there are weak points in education. Yes, there is education and there is creativity. How to connect it? How the school is developing. Many years ago, in the last century, when I worked with the students of the 4th course, I was offered to direct the puppet performance in one of the theaters. And administration told me either you make a theater or you study it. And then I continued my education, not because I trusted to what he told me, but because he knew where he was going to send me, because he knew what theater was. And I understood it when I worked there myself and when I sent my first students to work in the theater. I also spoke to the director. I recommended, I said, well, this is a very good student, enroll him, take him, invite him. But then, I started to feel the artistic envy and ambitions. Then I started to make a different thing. At the 3rd course, I invited them and I offered to them to invite our students to the theater on Nevsky. Now we have students, 2 people on the 4th course who made their own performance. We need to start it earlier, but it's difficult without a school, without an education. We cannot do that. For example, Academy of Arts, the 1st course, students come and they put for them the pyramid, conus, the triangular. And they say, why you give us such primitive examples? We used to do that in the school. You need to build, not to draw. So the school gives us the basics of education, of the occupation, and when you learn the basics of your occupation, then you might start building or start working on your art. Once they used to ask a question to the graduates, why you use this teacher, why you use this practical course? And the answer was very typical. I knew that this is a teacher from St. Petersburg. And another sample is that when an actor loved art so much and didn't want to serve in the army, and finally the army committee sent their scouts, and they just had to send someone to the army. And because the student from our acting department was really very good, they sent him to ensemble to the dance ensemble.
Еще, вы знаете, и развитие театра. Ведь вы помните, старшее поколение, что раньше до 5 лет в театр кукол не пускали. А сегодня бэби-театр.
That there were times when children under 5 years old were not allowed to go to the puppet show. Now it's really the theater for babies. Little kids come to the theater. In November, you go to the lab and you have to make your requirement, your for
Она вторая
performance.
уже там прошла, да?
There is Tavrida Festival,
Наших
which is
выпускников.
a very
Это
good
хорошая
festival.
школа.
It has been for the
Вот
second time
чем
already
больше
when they
этих
had
будет
that festival. It's a very
таких
good
каких-то
school. The more
объединений,
we have
позволяющим нашим студентам раньше себя проявлять.
festivals
Пускай
like this, which
разобьется.
will
Не
allow
страшно.
our
Но он
students
поймет,
to show themselves, let them
что там
at
его
least
оценили,
even break their
что я могу
forehead,
делать хорошо.
but they
Всё.
will understand
Спасибо.
how they were
Спасибо, Николай
assessed
Петрович.
and what they can
Ну
do
вот на такой
well, what they can do
оптимистической, проблемной
better,
ноте
what they can
я
do
бы хотел
worse. They
сегодня завершить
can make
нашу
their
конференцию, наше обсуждение.
conclusions
По-моему,
and
обсуждение
understand
было
themselves
достаточно
easier
интересным.
and
И если мы и не пришли к
quicker.
каким-то, так сказать,
So
может
I
быть,
believe that today we
потрясающим
had a
выводам,
very
то
interesting
мы многое
discussion.
подтвердили
It was
из того,
live. We
что мы
confirmed
уже
many of the
думали,
things which
над чем
we've been
работали.
thinking
И
already about, what we
Петербургская
have been
театральная
working
школа,
over.
она,
And
так сказать, всегда
to
открыта
conclude, we may say that our
к
St.
своему
Petersburg
развитию, к
School
движению
is always
вперед,
ready for its
к
development, for
взаимодействию
moving forward,
с живым
for
театральным процессом. Она и
working together
есть
with the
часть театрального
live,
процесса.
real live
Когда мы говорим о
theatrical
комплексном
process.
понимании театральной культуры,
When we speak
то
about
мы
complex
говорим о том,
understanding
что
of
одной из
theater culture,
необходимых
we
и
say that
уникальных
one of the most
составных частей
important and
театрального
unique
процесса и
parts
театральной
of the
культуры
theatrical
является
process
театральная
is the
школа, театральное
theater school,
образование.
drama
И в этом
school,
смысле
drama
Петербургская
education. And in
театральная
this
школа,
respect, St.
безусловно,
Petersburg
имеет
Theater School
такое
definitely has
культурообразующее
the
значение
culture,
и
culture
в
making,
столичных
culture
театрах,
constructive
и в регионах. Я бы
meaning.
сказал, что наша,
Here in the
наш
capital
институт
and in
действительно
the regions,
старейший театральный
we are
институт,
the oldest
пожалуй, всего мира,
educational
потому
establishments
что,
nearly in the
вот
whole world,
даже
because
Парижская
even
драматическая
the
академия, она имела
Drama
перерывы в своем
Academy
развитии.
in
А мы,
Paris
несмотря
had
на то, что и
breaks
меняли
in its
свое
development,
название,
but
10
for
раз
us,
институт
depending
менял свое название. Поэтому мы говорим там, кто
even
учился в
even
Гетмане,
knowing
кто
that
учился
we used to change our name for a couple of times already,
в театральном институте имени Островского,
still the names were different.
20-е годы, кто учился в императорской театральной школе. Неважно.
But the tradition
Мы
remains
учились в
the same.
одной театральной школе.
It was one and the same, despite all the times and different names, it was one and the same theater school of Russia.
Уважаемые коллеги,
Oh,
спасибо
dear
большое,
friends,
что
thank you
сегодня,
very much, dear
посетили
colleagues.
наше
Thank you very
мероприятие.
much for visiting our
Александр Анатольевич, спасибо вам большое.
session.
Извините, значит, еще
Thank
есть
you,
один
Sergey
сюжет.
Alexandrovich.
Я
I'm sorry
с
if there is
удовольствием
one more,
предоставляю слово директору
one
фестиваля
more.
Алексею Смокотову, который и вчера
I
завершал
would like to
наше
give the floor
заседание,
to
и сегодня.
Mr.
Пожалуйста.
Smokotov.
Спасибо большое,
who-
повторюсь. Спасибо нашим зрителям.
I'm very
спасибо
grateful to our
участникам,
audience.
кто
I'm very
сегодня с
grateful to
нами в
all
зале
our
и
participants
высказал
speaking to
свое
us,
мнение
sharing
по
with
поводу
us
театральной, Петербургской
their
театральной
opinion
школы,
about
по
the
поводу
about
будущего
St.
и
Petersburg
какие
School
всё-таки
and the
существуют
future and those
запросы
demands
в регионах, потому что
which
здесь присутствуют как раз
our
представители
regions have.
выпускников, которые
Here we
работают
have
непосредственно на
representatives
местах
of
в региональных
of
театрах.
our alumni who
Я
keep
надеюсь,
working
что
in
все
the
друг друга
regions.
услышали.
I hope that we heard each other.
Те, кто преподает,
Those
те,
who
кто
teach,
работает,
those
те,
who
кто
work,
учится,
those
или
who
те, кто даже
study,
будет
and even
поступать,
those who
потому
are
что
going
цель и
and planning
задача
to
в данном
enter
случае
the
этих
Theatre
2 дней
Institute, because the
высказаться
target
и
of these
выслушать друг
2
друга.
years
Спасибо
is
вам
just to
большое.
share
Я
our
надеюсь, мы вам были
opinion.
полезны.
I
Спасибо
hope that
большое
it was
зрителям,
very
которые
useful for you.
находятся с нами в
And
онлайне.
thank you to the
Фестиваль
audience
с
which
вами
is
не
online.
прощается.
Festival
У нас
doesn't say
сегодня
goodbye.
еще вечером
Tonight we're
трансляция
going to continue our
спектакля «Театра
performance.
Мастерская».
We are
После
going to
этого будет
watch today the
обсуждение с
performance of
участниками создателя
Masterskaya
спектакля.
Theatre,
И
and we're going
для
to
наших
discuss it
спикеров
later
благодарность
at
от
the end.
фестиваля. Полина, спасибо большое за
Thank
участие.
you, Paulina, for
Надеюсь, мы еще
participation. I
увидимся
hope
со
that we will
всеми
see
на нашем фестивале.
the others
Олег,
at our festival.
спасибо
Oleg, this is
большое.
for you.
Алина.
Алина сегодня у нас выступила почти единственная как
Alina was the
оппозиция,
only one
но это тоже
representing
мнение.
opposition, but she also
Евгения,
had an opinion. Thank you, Evgenia.
Алексей,
Alexei,
Сергей. Спасибо
Sergey,
большое, Сергей. Да,
this is
сегодня
for
только
you.
к нам присоединился на один
Sergey
день.
just joined us for one day.
Юрий.
And Yuri, thank you very much.
Всем спасибо. Нам плодотворного дальше фестиваля,
We're very
работы
thankful to
и
everybody,
сотрудничества
and I
во
wish
всех направлениях.
to
Спасибо.
all of us very fruitful work in all the directions.